Hello viewers, today we're in the beautiful gardens of the Chatsworth Historical Society's Homestead Acre. We're here to celebrate their Springtime Garden Festival and Craft Fair, and we'll be joining lots of the members of the Society to find out just what goes on here at this beautiful historic site. And we're standing in front of the Homestead Bungalow, and I'm here with Beverly King, one of the docents who does tours of the bungalow. I'm excited to see inside, so viewers, stay with us while Beverly takes you on a tour inside the Homestead Bungalow.
Welcome to the Homestead Acre, home of Minnie Hill Palmer, who was born here in 1886 and lived here until 1976. She had no running water in the home, indoor plumbing, or electricity until after World War II. In the corner over here, you can see where her heat was. It was a kerosene stove, which was vented out the wall, as you see up there. I want to mention that the furniture is not her original furniture. Her children wanted that, so the members of the community and the Chatsworth Historical Society got together and refurnished the house as closely as possible to what Minnie had. Minnie loved to work outdoors more than indoors. Over here you see her bonnets that she kept on the coat rack near the door. And over in the corner here you see an organ which has a history of its own. It was supposed to be in a restaurant which went out of business, so they decided to give it to the little church that was on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. However, that was going to be bulldozed down eventually to make way for a shopping center and condominiums. And it was a pump organ, but it's been electrified and it still works. The house is made of all redwood construction, and the boards that you see on the outside is the same board you see on the inside, hence there's no insulation. So the house was hot in the summer and cold in the winter. You might wonder why it has such elaborate lace curtains. Well, all old houses, including the old Victorians, had lace curtains, and the reason being that there were no screens at that time. So when they opened the windows for ventilation, they had to have something to keep the insects out. Turning to the corner over here is, we call it Mr. Palmer's office, since he was a businessman. It's an old roll-top desk, which we don't roll down anymore because it might not roll back up. But you see the old post office type pen, liquid ink. There were no ballpoint pens at that time. And a blotter to blot the excess ink. His ledger, keep his records in of his business. Moving over to this table, we see a picture of our friend Lila Shepler, who was sitting over here in the corner. She's visiting with us. Lila was an original member, and she knew Minnie and a lot of the older community members, and it was through her and those older members that founded the Historical Society, which was founded to save the little church on Topanga Canyon. Lila, why don't you say a few things about the Homestead Acre?
Well, Minnie Palmer was one of the old timers here in town when I came in 1937, when we moved here to the valley. So I've known her a long time, and she used to do ironing to make a little pocket money. And so a lot of the families here in town had her iron for them. Not anything difficult, but small items. Minnie was an interesting lady, worked hard all her life. I guess she and Rhoda Jane and David Hill, the story really starts back in Arkansas when they were married, and many years and 6 children later, they made their way out to California, to Los Angeles, and they were looking around to find land. But it was about this time that the government had the Homestead Act, where you could claim a certain amount of land, in this case 110 acres, and you could claim that land. You had to live on it. You had to make your living on it. You had to feed your family and house your family on that piece of property for a year. And if you did that, then you owned it free and clear. And that's what happened here to Minnie's family. And so it was until she sold it for the golf course many, many, many years later. Minnie herself was a real interesting person because of all that she did in the community. One thing that she did every Christmas, the Historical Society had a Christmas party and a Christmas dinner, and she always brought a corn succotash, she called it, but it was, she raised the corn here on the property, harvested the corn, froze it, and then at Christmas time she made it into this corn casserole. And I don't think anyone else who was at the dinners ever did that besides Minnie. It was her own specialty.
This is one of the bedrooms, one of two. We have it fixed up as the children's bedroom. And one of the features of bedrooms is the fact that the beds have chamber pots. Since there was no indoor plumbing, children always get a tickle out of that. This is the only original piece of furniture that was found in the back 40, so to speak, the homemade quilt on it. Over here in this corner is a wash stand that would be found in most early bedrooms. It has the wash bowl and the pitcher, the water of which you would get outside from the cistern. It's brought by wagon and tanks on old flatbed wagons or flatbed truck from a spring down the street. But you'd fill the pitcher with water and then pour it into the basin, the amount that you need, and set it aside. Wash your face and hands and dry your face and hands with hand-decorated towels that the lady of the house probably made in her spare time when she had it. And here we have an old mirror. The silver is kind of discoloring, but the interesting fact is that it's made with real African elephant tusks, ivory, which of course is against the law now. A few people know what this is. Usually you have a pair of them, and when you put on your boots, you put this in the little tab that's inside the upper part of the boot, and usually you're sitting down, and you point your toe into the top of the boot and yank your boots up. Since there was no electricity, they had hand-operated hair clippers. And if the ladies wanted curly hair, you got it with a curling iron, which you could heat over your hurricane lamp. That's why it appears smoky and even burned. And you'd wrap up your hair, hold it for a few seconds, and then unroll it, and you have a good case of the frizzes, no doubt. The ivory was used in whole dresser sets, little trays, containers for powder and pins and things like that. Even the manicure tools had ivory handles. The men, of course, had a shaving mug with a shaving soap in here and a brush. Whisk it around, and put it on their cheek and a chin. And then they had a straight razor, which we don't have, and they'd sharpen it on a strap, and you had to be very careful or you'd cut yourself. The desk is the typical row desk with the fold-up chair, and the desk got bigger towards the back for the taller children, where I usually sat. Now, there's also a closet in the corner. It's a very small closet. They didn't need a very big closet because they didn't have all that many clothes, maybe a Sunday suit, dress, children's clothes. They would probably have a dresser with drawers. This is the adult bedroom, fixed up as the adult bedroom. It has a log cabin quilt on the bed, and to the right is a sewing cabinet which you can pick up and carry anywhere you want to do your crocheting or needlework out on the porch. Under the bed are the two chamber pots. To the right, hanging on the closet door, are a pair of long johns and the red flannel nightshirt, both men's attire. To the left is a hope chest. Every young woman had a hope chest and planning for her future home, so she'd gather all kinds of linens and quilts and towels and handiwork that she had spent her free time making. The chair in the corner is a slider. It's kind of a rocking chair. It gives you a sliding effect. And up here on a wall is a picture of Minnie Hill Palmer and some more of the real ivory dresser set. And this is a man's brush set for his shoes, for his hair, and to brush any lint off of his suit on Sunday. And this is an interesting container. Most people don't know what it's for. They collect human hair in it. They make mourning art out of it. They braid, twist, weave the hair into flowers and mount it in frames for pictures and flower arrangements. And they also put on combs for hair decorations or on the lapel pin to make a pin to wear. Down here on the floor is the old-time satchel with the initials there, all the identification you needed at that time. You could possibly picture it up on the top of a stagecoach or on the old-time train. We do have a stagecoach trail that starts here in the park and went on over the mountains to Santa Barbara.
We'll be right back with more from Aging Well in LA.
Really like
an emergency can happen at any time.
Earthquake!
That's why you need to be prepared. Put together an emergency kit with food, water, a first aid kit, a flashlight, radio, and some tools.
I can't believe it, it's an earthquake!
You're never too old to prepare.
Ah, get out of there!
Get the message? Be prepared.
Get out of the house!
It's my job to teach you the safe way to ride a bike. You should always wear a helmet just in case you fall. Ride on the sidewalk. It's safer than the street. Okay, when crossing a driveway, stop your bike and look both ways.
Like this?
That's good. And obey all traffic laws.
Traffic laws?
Yep, like stopping at stop signs and walking your bike across the street.
Boy, I'm glad you're my big brother.
I know.
Ride right, stop at the light, watch the road.
Wash Day was a major event back in Minnie's day. Over here we have her washing facilities, 2 galvanized tubs and a hand-operated wringer. You put your warm water and soap in one, and you would agitate it, the clothes, with the hand-operated agitator. If you had stains, you could scrub them on the board. And when it was time to rinse, you would take the laundry stick and fish them out of there and put them through the hand-operated wringer into the rinse water over here. Then you would agitate them again, and when they were rinsed, you would reverse the process and put the clothes back through the wringer into a woven wicker basket. Then you would carry them outside and hang them on a clothesline with clothespins, which you never left the bag of clothespins hanging outdoors because they'd get weathered and then they'd put marks on your clothes. On a rainy day, you'd use a wooden rack that you'd open up in the house. When the clothes are ready to iron, which was probably the next day, you got to use a handy sad iron. It's called a sad iron because that's the name of the company that manufactured it. There were 3 because you heated them on the wood stove. And you would have the 3 lined up over here, heating. When it was ready, you'd take it and start ironing. And then when that got cool, you'd bring it back, release the handle, put it on the second iron, and then continue your ironing. In those days, nothing went to waste. There were feed sacks and flour sacks which were saved and used for towels, blouses, aprons. You could buy yardage at the general store, but if you have a good sack at home and it's useful, you could use that. Over here on this table, we have butter churns. This is one of the activities that the children get to use on Pioneer Day in the fall. They get to make homemade butter. This is a coffee grinder, or spices, one or the other. And over here in this cabinet, there are a whole lot of things we could describe, but I won't take the time now. But the story of mixing starch to starch the collars and cuffs, you'd make kind of a pudding, the consistency of a pudding, and you dip the collars and cuffs into the water and pudding mixture, so to speak, hang it out to dry, bring it in, sprinkle the clothes, wrap them in a towel so it's evenly moist, and then unroll it the next day and get to use your handy sat iron to iron out the wrinkles. And then, of course, there was no Gerber's baby food, so they'd cook vegetables and puree them through the pureer. Mashed potatoes, anybody could eat it. And Minnie did a lot of canning since they raised fruit and vegetables. The Ball Company is an old fruit jar manufacturing company, but you'd have to sterilize everything. And then you'd fill it with your fruit or vegetables, put a rubber gasket or washer in there, put the lid back on, lining up the groove so that the big metal loop can fit in there, and then push down, and it will be thoroughly canned, sealed from air. Of course, the new modern method is actually basically the same, but the washer is built into the metal lid. Once you have the jars and the screw part, all you have to do is buy the replacement metal lids. You screw it on tight and wait a minute, and you'll hear a popping sound, which shows you that the oxygen is out, the air is out. There are all kinds of tools. The meat grinder fastens to the edge of the table. You decide if you want fine grind or coarse grind, and screw it on tightly, and then put chunks of meat in there and turn the handle, and it forces it through the grinder here. A favorite job for children before or after school was to gather eggs. These are decoy eggs. You can see that hens have pecked at them, but the theory was that if you have one of these, slide it on the hen, take the good egg, and leave the decoy, you won't get pecked yourself. Moving over to the stove, this is a wood stove, and it was vented out the wall. This was the original outdoor wall. Usually ask anybody if they know what this is. Most young folks say it's a cheese grater. It's a toaster. Put the bread on the little racks here, put it over coals. You can use it when you go camping. And when it's brown on one side, you flip it over and brown the other side. Making waffles was about the same as today, except there was no electricity. So you use cast iron waffle iron. You put the batter in here, close it up, let it brown, flip it over, and let it brown on the other side. I think everybody knows or perhaps has used one of these. You slide it open, put some oil and kernels in there and close it, and shake it over a fire, campfire, fireplace, stove, whatever, and you get popcorn. Since there was no electricity, this was a good job for children also. You'd hang your you braided rugs over a tree limb or the clothesline, and you'd beat the dirt out of the rugs. To have water in the kitchen, they bring water from the cistern and put it in a stone crock, and they could ladle it out with a long-handled ladle. And doing dishes, you'd fill the enamel pans, one for washing and one for rinsing, and you could use any table or whatever to set them on. Over here in the corner, we have a variety of items. This is a cream pail. When they separated the cream from the milk, which was in the large milk pail in the corner, the cream was put in a smaller bucket. And then it could be used in the butter makers that we showed earlier, the hand-cranked butter maker. If there was an ice box, an iceman came every other day or so with a big block of ice. It came in a wagon, horse-drawn or motorized, and he'd come in with a big block of ice in these hooks with a leather protector on his shoulder and put it in the lady's ice box. But that made another chore in that every now and then you had to empty the catcher under the ice box, which was the melted ice block. Otherwise it would overflow onto the floor. Over here is a Hoosier cabinet. It was an item that could be brought west in the covered wagon in that it came in two parts, the upper part and the lower part. It's fastened right here on both sides. This is a smaller model. Some of them fit the whole wall. But an interesting fact is this convenience. This held about 25 pounds of flour. It was rodent-proof, no mice. You could see how much flour you had. And then when you were making biscuits or pie crust, you just turned the crank and the flour came down sifted into your measuring cup. What more could a housewife want? Then this pulled out, you'd shake the flour on it and roll out the dough here. And then you had your biscuit cutter or cookie cutter or little pie crust for tarts. Since there was no electricity, you had to use a hand-operated egg beater. They're so old, some of them don't work. The question is, people ask, what is that? It's a meatball maker. Nowadays, you make them in your hands and forget the tool. We're all familiar with this, but this is made out of old-type steel. You could also seat 3 kids around here to eat lunch or breakfast. Another convenience was a breadboard. And then down here we have a bread box. It's also rodent-proof. No mice could get in there. That about covers what we have here in the kitchen. The kitchen could be any room in the house for that matter, just so you had an outside wall you could vent the stove pipe through.
Thanks so much, Beverly. That was really fascinating. A real trip down memory lane for me. Reminds me of my grandmother's cottage in England. Really a wonderful tour. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming, and anybody else who would love to be a volunteer here, we'd sure appreciate it. We're looking for new members and volunteers.
Absolutely, viewers. If you've a few hours to spare, come on here to the Chatsworth Historical Society. I'm here with Andre van der Valk. He's the co-president of the Chatsworth Historical Society. He's here with his grandchildren today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this very special place and this very special event. Andre, tell us what's happening here today.
Well, thank you, Helen. Good afternoon to you. The Homestead Acre is an acre and a third in Chatsworth on the northwest part of the San Fernando Valley. And we do this twice a year. And this is our fundraisers. We're self-sustaining, no tax funds are involved or anything else. And we keep up these beautiful grounds and the historical cottage in the background and the museum. And we've been doing this actually since the 1960s, the mid-1960s. And one of the first things we did was we moved the church, the Little Pioneer Church, into what is now at the end of Lassen Street, which is the Memorial Park.
Okay, so that was originally here on this site?
No, it was actually original in Topanga.
Okay.
But it was one of the first projects we did. And then, in order to, like I said, sustain us every year, why we do this twice a year. We have our festival in the springtime, and then also we have one in the fall.
Wonderful.
Now the grandkids are here. They're actually working today. Now this one is starting. This is my youngest one. This is Brody.
This is Brody.
And he'll start and he'll grab drinks and things like this. He knows the difference on that. And then Brooke here, she goes ahead and she kind of figures out how much it is, and then she'll grab the drinks. And then there's Charlie. He's actually in charge, and he's learning how to use the cash box. So he uses this math and everything else. And then my 2 veterans over there is Hunter, that's my oldest granddaughter, and Bryce, that's the second oldest one. They're full-fledged cashiers, so they know how to make change. And I think it surprises most people when they find out in school that they know how to make change off of a $10 bill or a $5 bill or whatever it may be.
Now, Hunter, you're wearing the Girl Scout What do you call this? What is this? So you're wearing sash you're wearing here. So have you brought more Girl Scouts along with you today?
Yeah.
So your troop actually comes along here and helps with these events?
Yeah, this is our second time coming together. First we went over there and we planted flowers, and then we're all helping here today.
That's wonderful. And what do you like most about coming here?
Probably the hot dog stand.
Is it the eating the hot dogs, or are you actually serving them?
Equal.
I bet. Bryce, what do you do when you come along? What's your favourite thing to do?
My favorite thing is to come here and learn the interesting history and teach other people about it.
Yeah. It really is a fascinating place to come, so we're actually encouraging viewers, if you live anywhere near this place, if you're anywhere in the Chatsworth area or even the wider San Fernando Valley, come along and be a volunteer here. These grounds are kept by volunteers. I believe they come along on a Wednesday and do gardening here. Lots to do here. It's a wonderful place, so I really encourage you viewers, if you've got a few extra hours on hand, come along here and be a volunteer. It's such a rewarding experience.
Thank you, Helen. As far as the hot dogs are concerned, this one has set the record. I think she's eaten 5 hot dogs.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Right, Brookie? Yeah, almost as many.
Anyway, that's not too bad a record to have. So, viewers, come on here to Chatsworth Historical Society and help them out. You'll really enjoy yourself. I'm here with Betty Summers, and she's one of the volunteers that tends these fabulous gardens. In fact, I think you're the chief volunteer in charge of gardens, aren't you?
In charge of the gardens, yes.
Tell me, Betty, how much work is this?
Oh, there's lots of work. You can work up here every day, all day, if you wanted to. And we have to deadhead the roses, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
They're blooming, and we have to fight the squirrels and the rabbits. The rabbits have been moving in. They love our flowers too. But
so lots of work for you year round.
Year round. Mm-hmm. We have a few volunteers, but we could sure use a lot more.
Mm-hmm. So as we say, viewers, any of you with a few hours to spare, who wouldn't enjoy coming here and working in these wonderful gardens and making some new friends? So please come on and join Betty here and be a volunteer. You'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very peaceful here because we're kind of out by ourselves in this park. And you can relax and forget all your problems while you work in the garden.
And that's what we need to do today.
Yeah.
So viewers, come on and join Betty. You're really going to be glad you did. Thanks so much to everybody here at the Chatsworth Historical Society. We've had a wonderful day. Join us next time for Aging Well in LA.